All right, let's be real for a quick second. That was not my foot, okay? I don't believe I actually have to say that in the beginning of a video, but Steve can suck it, all right? It's the same face. This guy's like the guy who puts your face on Ash Ketchum, all right? And then the other day, he's showing you feet in videos that aren't yours. A little insecure about that, all right? Editing can be deceiving, okay? Mostly because it's like profile pictures versus tagged photos. And then once you meet them in real life, you're like, wow, that's you. Sometimes when we look at old cars that carry typical JDM manufacturer titles, okay, they have like some hypey TikTok edits. They have some badass YouTube cinematic shots, and they're going sideways, and they're doing all sorts of crazy stuff that makes you just think to yourself, you wanna know what? As a 16-year-old, I now want that. And you look at it, and then you look at one that's bone stock that you find on Auto Trader or Cars.com or Craigslist, and you look at it and you go, oh.
That's it?
There's a car that's a little bit like that. Bone stock, could probably be passed for just about any car you'd find at a Chick-fil-A on a Sunday morning at 11:30, but modified, whoo! All right, it looks a little bit like it dates your mom and forces you to add sir when you're talking to it. I'm Alex, Alex.fi on the socials, and today we're gonna be talking about one of the flagship crown jewels to carry the Lexus name into the late 90s and early 2000s, a car that by and large just looks absolutely fucking perfect when it comes down to going sideways or when you decide that you wanna add some home curtains into the back windows. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're gonna be talking about you wanting to own a Lexus GS300. And of course, welcome to Fitment Industries. We began existing because finding what wheels and tires that actually fit your car was absolutely painfully difficult, all right? So we built a badass gallery, linked wheels, tires, and suspension. So if you saw something you liked, you could pick it up if you want to. Be sure to check that out, all right? It sounds like your cup of tea. You can look at it or at fitmentindustries.com. And if you're looking for wheels, tires, and suspension, we got that too, all right? Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet, because it allows us to keep making badass videos like this. Let's jump into my favorite car. The GS model lineup actually started within Toyota, not Lexus, as a model labeled the Aristo, which was launched back in October of 1991. The Gulf War was happening. It was ultimately not a very good year for a lot of people, but Toyota was trying to make the best of it by making some banging cars. The Aristo was going to be a flagship high-performance sedan for Toyota and built with some insane efficiencies from their factory to help keep costs down and let volume make it a successful model lineup. Being one level down from the Century/Crown, the Aristo was gunning for a mid-size segment, and Toyota had a special weapon to fight against the competition. You have to remember that a lot of this was coming down to when the age of automation was going to determine if a car was successful or not. But from a design perspective, they kind of all look the same. So Toyota brought about a man by the name of Giorgetto Giugiaro. There's a lot of G's in Italian names. Giorgetto Giugiaro. Is that American accent or Italian? I'm not sure, but he was a really good actual Italian automotive designer that actually worked on supercars and was famed with the title of Best Car Designer of the Century in 1999. With hair like an angel and a suit that probably costed as much as the actual car did back then when it came out, he worked on things like the 250 GT, the Ghibli, the Isogrifo, and the Lotus Esprit, the BMW M1, and now the Aristo. When the car launched, it actually did absolutely incredible. It had a 3-liter JZ straight 6, started from the Supra, or a 4-liter V8 UZ million-mile motor and semi-active suspension, and limited slip differential, and a whole bunch of goodies that just made Toyota say it could do it. And then it hit stateside in 1993, but not as a Toyota, as a Lexus. Started with the GS series, which stands for Grand Sport. It was one model underneath the LS, and it hit the ground running. And even though the North American versions didn't get anything cool from a performance perspective, because Japan gets all the cool stuff, it still came with enough bells and whistles to actually sell. And the moment that the first gen actually hit the States, the second generation began production. The first generation was cool because it said something was possible. The second generation, it was so beautiful, okay? Rainy, why'd you have to sell yours? The second generation Lexus GS300 is God's green gift to man. It's just good. Or human, whatever. I'm not getting into this. Second generation Lexus GS300 was made of angel wings, okay? And had body panels crafted by Olympians. Phased through 18 months of design work, the HPS, or High Performance Sedan S160, which is what it was called before it was debuted at the Detroit Auto Show, pivoted the GS design into something that would become iconic for Lexus in the late 90s. Japan got all the cool engines, and US got a 3-liter straight 6 naturally aspirated, or if you wanted a GS400, you could receive the infamous 1UZ-FE V8, one of the best engines ever made to man. And if you want us to talk about it, let us know in the comment section below. But we are talking about the GS300, and we're gonna get get into why the motor it came with really doesn't matter if you're looking to buy one. The GS300 sold incredibly well, so much so that it locked Lexus into their plan to fully integrate models into the States, both in the compact, mid-size, and executive-size vehicles. The tagline of when they introduced the second generation was, "Something wicked comes this way." Launched the GS300 and people actually loved it. The market immediately took the hearts and minds, and with its competitive price point and value per dollar, pretty much wiped the floor with a lot, at least at its launch. In 2001, the GS300 would get a facelift, which to me, not a fan of, but it got some minor revisions. The GS300 would branch off into a couple different variants, the 250, the 430, the 400, and a few other numbers depending on the engine size. But the reason I'm touching on this is because I'm effectively done, all right? I'm done. I'm done doing it, and I can't do it anymore. I can't do the video anymore. It's just too much, guys. I can't keep making these all the time. I can't do it because, you know, I just refuse to talk about the history of the car anymore, all right? We're here to talk about you wanting to own one of these glorious tanks, these slide-happy, quad headlight, funky executive cars, all right? So you want a Lexus GS300. Well, grab your headlight cleaner and drop off your favorite engine cradle because we're gonna be talking about what it's actually like to be addicted, not even want a Lexus GS build. Because it's a little bit, you almost feel like you're doing something illegal when you own one of these. Owning a Lexus GS300 is quite honestly an absolute blast. The platform itself is insanely fun and the community is a blast to be around. It's well built, it's fundamentally pretty reliable. It's got all the right pieces at all the right times, and the interior is nice. They aren't atrocious in price, and because their siblings across the water came with turbochargers and more power, beefing them up is like sliding warm peanut butter on bread. I don't know why I said that. I'm hungry and I'm sorry. I can't believe it's not butter. When that commercial came out and they had to teach us the difference between butter and margarine when I was in elementary school was painful, all right? But there are a couple two-treat things you'll want to know before jumping into owning a GS300. First and foremost, the car's stock isn't anything really to scream home about. The power isn't insane and the drivetrain doesn't put a massive smile on your face. And because it's a big ass car, it can feel a bit bloated right out of the gate. You'll get past that, I promise, once you actually go and make the car yours. You just need to give it a little bit of spice, all right? To spice things up, first off, slam it on the ground. BC Racing coilovers are the best way to go from a static perspective, or airlift performance is a great way to go if you're going the bagged route. Wheels, depending on if you go with over fenders or full wide body, or you wanna stick with the stock body, all look good on the car, but personally, I would recommend either a hyper thin multi-spoke or a hella blocky old school JDM wheel, like from Crayons or something similar. They do well with fatty wheels. For a hyper thin multi-spoke, I would say something like the older SSR wheels when they started really jumping into that design work. I think it was right around the 90s. I'd really love to see some artists elders on this though, so if you have a GS300, hook us up. We may be able to do something. If you go with 18s though, avoid the step lip because the 17 look will look too small. 19s look really great with a little bit of camber, and 20s can be a little bit too much. There's a sweet spot between lipped 18s and step lip 19s on GS300, and this is pretty much across the board. But some magic can happen underneath that mile-long hood if you want it to, because the NA versions are half of what it's supposed to be. And once you start going across the sea, swapping parts, motors, transmissions, and ECUs, it becomes extremely easy to make a lot of power. And the first major modification that a lot of people plan to do with this car is essentially swap the motor to the turbocharged variant. It gets you sideways, get the turbos, all right? It'll help you and you'll be able to do it right without losing any sort of reliability. Plenty of people also go the VIP look, mostly with the LS400 because of its highest tier from Lexus, but if you have done it with the GS300. Keep your eyes out on the steering wheel play as the fix is pricey for a new rack and tie rods. Rust can occur around windowsills and the bottom of door jambs. Because the car was relatively low when stock, damage on the front bumper is super common, and headlights often get damaged after going through 20 years of abuse because there's 4 of them and not 2. That's just normal. Upgrade to the new gen set and you'll pretty much be fine though. The best thing about GS300s is their capability to be anything without an insane bro tax, at least at this time, all right? And sure, there's a bit, but there's tax everywhere right now, okay? At the end of the day, you're gonna be paying out of your ass. What Lexus did right was that they created a car that was built to last a long ass time. And it looks properly done when a little bit closer to the center of the earth because it just needs that, with some big wheels that have a decent lip, intake, exhaust, and a scrolly boy under the hood to make it go sideways with a stick next to the knee would make it a lot of fun, in all honesty. It's like the perfect JDM car, especially for like if you just wanna cruise on a Friday night with 3 people in the back. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what do you think about the GS300? Let us know below, and if you're looking to, and of course, if you're looking to add your car to our gallery, be sure to do so. If you do have an aftermarket car, you can do that at fitmentindustries.com. And if you're looking for wheels, tires, and suspension, be sure to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com as well. We hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know in the comment section below if there's something you want us to talk about next. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We will see you later. Peace.